Periscope. The Periscope on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio with the host Fisayomi Ajibola every weekdays, Mondays to Fridays, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. You won't want to miss it.
Thursday, the month of August 2023. A beautiful morning to you once again. And of course, it is Periscope on Al-IyamoyeTV and radio. Welcome to Periscope, the first edition for the month of August 2023. And on Periscope, we look into different issues, of course, topical issues that is of beneficial to every person, every citizen of this great country, talking about sporting and analyzing different issues to bring about maybe faults and the way we can move the country forward, and of course talking about steps taken by political players and even citizens at large in the country. So welcome once again to Periscope. My name is Modupe Akinyosoye, and this morning, yesterday actually, we had a broadcast from number one citizen of the country in person of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who addressed the nation yesterday at 7 p.m. And of course, we will be this morning looking at what was or entails in the broadcast of the president that was announced yesterday. Different promises, like some mentioned, or some would term that president made yesterday. So we'll be looking at the statement and the broadcast of the president yesterday. My name is Modupe Akinyosoye, and joining me this morning is no other person than Fisayomi Ajibola. He's a media practitioner, and of course he's a social commentator and public affairs analyst. Good morning. Good to have you this morning.
Pleasant morning.
Yesterday, President Bola Tinubu spoke to Nigerians, and of course, some have been awaiting the speech yesterday, while some would say that it's one of those things or one of those political moves, so to say. But either way, the president gave a speech yesterday at 7 p.m. and he mentioned those things that he will be putting in place to cushion the effect of the petrol subsidy removal. The first question I would ask, and of course that has been graced with different reactions from people. Some actually reacted to the speech yesterday when they went through the full test of the speech and of the broadcast, they concluded that it is no difference to what other administrations have been saying or have been promising to do. What is your take on that?
Okay, I will want to disagree with whoever has said that what the president did yesterday, it's no difference from what others have been doing. No, it is far different.
How would you say that?
How would I say that? It is a speech of promises. Let's first salute his courage for coming out to accept that Nigerians are suffering. He did come out to be sensitive. He shows he's sensitive. We've had an administration here where Nigerians were calling for the president to address the nation, especially during the time of the change in currency, the design of the currency. Nigerians went through hell, but the president never responded. The only point he responded was to tell you that this cash you're spending, this particular design is going to expire at an XYZ date. If you like, go and fall inside lagoon. And what transpired thereafter? When Nigerians were waiting for him to talk, he did not. The only point somebody came to talk again was with the CBN governor, now suspended. Godwin Emefiele came to talk to Nigerians again. So this approach of President
But that
Tinubu,
was from the past administration.
past administration,
What about
so it's different.
the ones that were before?
Oh, before him, do you want to talk about the era of Goodluck Jonathan? When these
Musa
people who are in
Yar'Adua,
government
the late
now,
Musa
no,
Yar'Adua.
it's far different. It's far different. It's far different because he came out to accept that he knows what Nigerians are going. The only thing he did in this speech, there are some things he did in this speech, which if we look at it very well, he shouldn't have done. One, shifting blame. It's the same political party. The pattern has not changed. But he indicted the former administration to say that he removed the subsidy without clear-cut plans to cushion its effect on Nigerians. I think he can play down on that.
But do you think that the former administration should have done that, knowing that they won't be the same, they are leaving power in few months?
No. How do I put it? Government is a continuous government. And for God's sake, the same political party. So if you are going to change something, there must be a plan. Let's take example of Lagos State. The framework that Lagos State is working with was something orchestrated by this president when he was the governor of the state. And other subsequent governors who came after him were following the master plan. So, that plan will only change if another political party take over. So if President Buhari has done not too good by not making that provision, it shouldn't have come from him. The signal of that is there is crisis. But leaving that, let's look at those things one after the other.
Before we look at it one after the other, I would want to also want you to talk about one factor before we start rolling out. He mentioned something during his at the initial stage of a speech, and let me try and get the details now so that I won't be quoting out of context. He said, for several years, I have consistently maintained the position that the fuel subsidy had to go, and this once beneficial measure had outlived its usefulness. The subsidy cost us trillions of naira yearly. Such a vast sum of money would have been better spent on public transportation, healthcare, schools, housing, and even national security. Instead, it was being funneled into the deep pockets and lavish bank accounts of a select group of individuals. He said this group had amassed so much wealth and power that they became a serious threat to the fairness of our economy and integrity of our democratic governance. To be blunt, Nigeria could never become the society it was intended to be as long as such small, powerful, young, yet unelected groups had enormous influence over our political economy and the institution that govern it. And if you track this statement back to when Tinubu was campaigning, you notice that this same set of people he has been talking about, some set of persons that we don't know about. Now, I was in a space yesterday reading comments of people, and somebody made a statement that until these cabals that we talk about are mentioned and named and
jailed
and punished, that is when we will tell ourselves that change has come. So don't you see, yes, Tinubu has been saying, just mentioning group, cabal, this and that for the past few months, if no more than. Don't you see a start of change in bringing down? Because I've been questioning myself. If you are saying there are cabals, there are group, and you are not bringing them to book, how do you intend to cut them the bluff if you are not doing the right thing to do? Can change even start from that if you are not naming these people, you are not bringing them to book, so to say?
The case is sounding like the case of a student who has been failing or repeating the same class over and over. And whenever he is being asked what is responsible for his failure, he will always talk about Ogun Dileni, one Shemila Tileni. They are doing it from our family.
The village people.
The village people factor. Who are the village people? They said the day you recognize that you are being doomed by a particular thing is that day that thing has stopped affecting you. President Tinubu should stop telling us that there are cabals, there are these people, there are this. If you truly know there are people, there are cabals, name names.
And that you don't belong to them.
Yes.
Or you don't subscribe to.
See, there are some of his statements that we need to look at. He said from day one, he's been an advocate of removal of this subsidy. I think that is questionable. Let me tell you why. During Goodluck Jonathan's era, when the man wanted to remove the subsidy, he increased it from 87 naira or so to 140 something naira. He and some prominent Nigerians now who are in power took over the streets. They call it Goodluck Jonathan's tax. Which he invariably, what he meant then was that he should not remove the subsidy. So, why is he telling us now that he's been an advocate of it? No. If you tell us that, okay, if you're telling us that this subsidy has been removed, we know that pump price will increase. But if you're going to collect bread from us, have you made provision of another thing that will be eaten? Maybe yam. So the speech, I will turn him up in some areas, and in some areas I believe it should have been more detailed instead of him just talking about it in passing. For example, the review of the minimum wage, it was in only one sentence, a line that he mentioned it. Okay, labor union, don't be angry, your review is still in view. That was the only thing he said about labor. Other things were promises. To me, it sounded more like a manifesto of somebody who is campaigning again.
And that was the reasons behind those that are saying it's not a new thing.
In governance,
the policies are not new.
Yes, in governance, when you're talking about governance, you don't personalize it. You don't personalize. You will say, we will. That is one quality of a leader. But prominently, President Tinubu mentioned, I will, which invariably is telling us that he's running a government of him. That means he takes the decision. He calls the shots.
And not the government of the people.
Yeah, because he's saying, I will do this, I've seen your pain, I've been doing sleepless nights. Are you the only person in government? So I have issues with that. Because what that tells us is that whatever suggestion you have, keep it to yourself. He's the man in charge. And governance is not done now. Why do we have the Senate, the National Assembly? Why do you have essays? So they only take directive from you. Whatever they have in their head, they should go and sleep with it. No. Governance is not done like that. He also mentioned areas. See, I said I will turn some places and I will question some places. He look at what we need. Food. He made mention of how he's going to be providing food. How he has directed states infrastructure fund for states to empower farmers. He has talked about how he will give him money. See, if we look at those figures of how he will be giving out money, at a point, he became too worrisome for me, personally.
With the amount of money he was
mentioning, and the time period that he said he's going to be dishing it out. Okay, among what he mentioned was that he is going to be giving about, I think, he was going to be giving 75 billion naira between this July 2023 to March 2024.
2024.
He said he's going to be giving it to 75 enterprises. 1 billion naira credits with a 9% per annum increase, which will be repayable in 60 months. 1 billion naira to just 75. That means we have 774 local governments in Nigeria. How will he arrive? What criteria qualify those people? Just 75 companies, enterprise? Away from that. He's also talked about 125 billion naira. He said those from 125 billion, 50 billion conditional grants to 1 million person. And he said there is going to be 50,000 naira to 1,300 SMEs. 50,000 naira to 1,300 SMEs. See, it's looking like what we have experienced before. During the administration of the past president, former president Modupe, we had trader money, 10,000 naira. Some 20,000 naira, 10,000 naira. What came out of trader money? We have had other schemes that the government will say, I'm giving this. But before we start talking about giving out money, let's look at the population. How many millions are we? We assume we are like 200 million thereabouts. But the president is telling us that he's going to give 50,000 naira to 130 SMEs. Let's divide 130 with 200 million. Of what ratio is 130 to 200 million individuals?
But can we afford to sponsor all?
Not all. But let's look at it. Let's assume I own SME and I have one assistant. That is true of us. Let's look at it to the population of Nigeria. And you're saying you're going to give 1,300. 1,300. Of what ratio is that to the population of Nigeria? 50,000 naira. What effect will such 50,000 naira have in our economy?
It could go a long way.
How will it go around?
Maybe that should be the question.
No. How will that translate? How will it better the lot? Okay, I'm SME. I make shoe. And I think the cheapest slippers you can get now from a leather, you get a 1,000 naira.
If that's possible.
No. Let's assume you get a 1,000 naira slippers. And somebody is telling me that I will borrow you 50,000 naira to operate. Which means that my cost of making that slippers will not be nothing less than 800 naira or 900 naira and 1,000 naira, and I have 50,000 naira. How many copies of that shoe can I make? And for my turnover, for how long will I be able to feed my family, repay the loan? It does not look realistic. That person will collect that 50,000 naira. Yeah, and the person is indebted already. He's owing shop rent. He has borrowed online. That 50,000 naira, he will quickly go and use it to settle his personal problem. What effect will it be on the economy? Yeah. See, we should stop the habit of quickly running to start talking about we want to give money. We do not have the data facilities to push out money. We should be looking at infrastructure that will cut across.
Long-term.
Yes, that will cut across. Do good roads from one farm to town and see how many people will benefit from it. Instead of giving those farmers 1,000 naira to 2,000 naira. Before you start talking about, I will give 1 billion naira loan to 75 enterprise. Do you know how many enterprises we have in Ogun State alone? And you're telling me you will give 75 enterprises. What's your calculation that you arrive at 75? I was telling somebody that if I have the money and I have people under me, no matter how holy or sacred the act of sending people to Hajj is, before I send such people to anybody to Hajj, personally, I will ask myself, how much will it cost me? 4 million naira to send somebody. If I look at it from, 300,000 naira to how many persons? Let me use to complement your business. and make them understand. Let's do it in cluster. If you pay this, I will be able to give somebody else in your cluster. Their life will be better than me sending them on that pilgrimage and come back and not pay anything better. So before we start talking about giving huge amount of money to few individuals, we should start looking. I think we are at the era where we should start looking at long-term benefits, things that will immediately cut across. If you are giving 50,000 naira to 1,300 SMEs that will cross over the 774 local governments we have, oh yeah, when will they repay? It's a 60 months repayment plan. 50,000 naira. When will they finish the payment? When will another person collect? Those things we should start. We have Nigerians who are good with calculation. Poverty has made some of us to be calculative. That we don't just spend anyhow again and calculate. So before you start coming to us to start dishing figures, let's be intentional about it.
Do the problem lie on the fact that people are this step is being taken, or the fact that they are not realistic? Because some would at least to an extent, some subscribe to the fact that to a large extent it will help, even if it's not a long-term project. That as a short-term project, it will last and could make a difference in one way or the other. So do you see those steps as not being realistic at all, or the process of implementation is what you are questioning?
Okay, what I'm questioning here is one, those figures, 1, 2, implementation of it and the objective. The reason you gave out the loan might not be achieved by those who are giving it out to. Because the money might be the funds will be too little to achieve your own objective with. Let's see one of the ones we should applaud the president for doing.
Okay.
The president said he's going to give a 200,000 metric tons of grains to 36 states. He said he's going to release 225 metric tons of fertilizers to farmers and 500,000 hectares of land for growing of wheat and cassava. Do you know how 500,000 hectares? Do you know how many states that will feed? What is the lifespan of a cassava? From planting to harvesting. Those are some of the things we should be looking at long term, and that it will cut across. Those immediate bailout of releasing money is just like postponing the doomsday. Because you would think you will achieve something there. It will not. You won't achieve it. You won't, and you will end up not achieving anything, and eventually you even go in debt.
Bankrupt.
So, what is the essence of this? So, the other ones he made mention, there are things we can, yes, good. The one he made mention that I got scared of is the state. He said, oh, infrastructural fund something for states, that they have mandated infrastructural support fund for states, where education and healthcare will be the primary concern of the initiative. States, education, healthcare. How good is most centers managed by states?
But if we are not being positive, or if you want to go by, we know Nigerians, we know how we handle
it's not a case of being positive. See, let's leave sentiment. Let's look at what is obtainable. We talk with antecedents. Let's look at what has happened. Has anything been put in place to change the narrative? We have known it that people are not accountable, especially from the state level.
Can't it start?
Good. Has any measure been mentioned that, okay, via this measure, we're going to make these people to be accountable so that every XYZ that will be invested in that fund would really achieve its aim. If you release such amount of money to the so-called infrastructure support fund to states to fund education, at what level? The tertiary institution owned by the state? Or the primary schools and secondary school? The healthcare. What kind of healthcare? State-owned hospitals? Or health centers that will be managed by the local government? No. No. In this sector, this infrastructure, I will be of the opinion that there should be a foreign organization who will come in partnership with the state government. And the state government will say, okay, what will it cost this foreign organization to execute this project in the health sector? If they said, okay, 1,000 naira, okay, the federal government via its infrastructure support, I'll pay 500 naira, do plans for the state to refund the next 500 naira, and you achieve this with XYZ years. That is, we'll know that the government is proactive. But if you're saying you have made provisions to release fund to state government to be the sole custodian of such projects, education, healthcare, for years they've been, how well have they done? That's what we should be asking ourselves.
All right, of course, we're still discussing the broadcast that was made by President yesterday, talking about the promises that he made to cushion the effect of the petrol subsidy removal. And he definitely, yesterday, he rolled out some of the promises which we have been talking about 75 billion naira between July 2023 and March 2024. And the objective is to fund 75 enterprises with great potential to kickstart or sustainable economic growth, accelerate structural transformation, and improve productivity. Of course, you can definitely share your comments and opinion, your suggestion, and how well you think we can support to make things happen, or better make things happen in the country on the under the comment section. Anytime you just come across this video, just because of our time, to round it up, what do you think, or where do you think we can go from here? Because even the NLC has come out to say they are insisting that they are going to commence their protest tomorrow, the 2nd of August, regardless of all the lengthy speech that the president gave yesterday. Where do we go from here?
Yesterday when we had this conversation, I said at the bulk of his speech, if the intention is good, the bulk of his speech should center around the labor union. But unfortunately, it was just only one line for them. That alone will make the labor to say no. That means we are not significant to you. And the labor force is one pivotal angle of government that you cannot ignore. So they should have been, he has spoken like a village elder, who has come to tell the community, I know you are suffering. We are sorry. We did not cause your suffering. My elder brother caused your suffering. But my elder brother is gone. I am here now. I am going to give you yam. I am going to give you pepper. I am going to give you this. But he failed to identify those people who are the engine room of bringing those yam and pepper from the farm.
But do you think that the president is trying to sideline or not make relevant the labor union due to the way it was used during the presidential election?
How was it used during the presidential election?
The clamor of the presidential candidates of Labour Party and all of that. I know the shenanigans.
I deliberately asked because, is this time for us us to be getting back at somebody who has offended during the electoral process. That was why I said the announcement of the president at the Easter inauguration to say subsidy is gone. It looks more like, it's not my turn. I will show you Pepe. You are fighting, which he mentioned in his speech too, you are fighting the cause of some beneficiaries who are so minute in terms of electorate. The few who are benefiting large, who are eating fat on subsidy. You can't slap somebody in an household and render every other member of the household hungry. There are ways you will isolate the person, while others will not be affected directly or for so long. Which I know that with his intelligence, President Tinubu can achieve that. But the way he's going about it, see, the labor, you can massage them. This speech looks more like calling bluff of them. You see, you that you are ranting, I will come to you, I will increase your money. But wait. And you continue.
Okay,
you can always call them to say, labor, we know this, we will plead with you to wait, this and this. You can massage them, buy time, manage them until you're able to achieve it. That protest, if they should go about it tomorrow, there is no way that it can be peaceful in its entirety. Also, a faction has already been created from Labour. Say no to nation NLC protest. And those people are part of NLC. They can always divide the NLC because everybody has a pride. So our country is full of drama and is always interested watching that series.
And so what would be your advice to the government, even the people at large, the citizens?
Well, to the citizens, don't be too expectant of this government. I think our hope is too high. We've seen the man because of who he has been. We are seeing him as the Messiah who will rectify everything in a twinkle of an eye. No. The rot in our system cannot go in 80 years. It's going to be a gradual thing. So let's allow the president to take his time, but with the consciousness of the suffering of the masses. Now, while you are taking your time to right the wrong, be conscious that Nigerians are suffering and put in place things that will sweeten the pains that we're going through.
Thank you so much. Definitely the conversation will continue under the comment section. Thank you so much, Al-IyamoyeTv, as always. Really appreciate your presence this morning.
Thank you too.
All right, that'll be all on the Periscope on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and of course drop your comment, your opinion, your submission on every topic that we bring to you. My name is Modupe Akinyosoye. Definitely, we are hopeful that the country will be a better place.